Hello, welcome to this video. This is a brand new video on creating a 2D platform. If you've done things like this before, that's absolutely fine. I'm going from the absolute basics to getting our character implemented in this video. So it might be a bit of a long video, but obviously the power of YouTube and videos that you can slow it down, you can pause it, and you can take notes as well, so you can make sure that you get everything covered within this video. Lovely. So I've just created a basic 2D template, and this is a URP, so this is a universal render pipeline. So this has lighting in it as well, but we can go into a bit of that a bit later. But for now, for these couple of videos and probably for the next 3 or 4 videos, we're not even going to worry about that at all. So first things first is that we have got our game here, and we're going to want to create a tile map, because we'll create just a standard pixel game, and you're probably creating your pixels and your tiles and your characters and your enemies within Piscale or Photoshop or whatever you prefer, Sprite or anything like that. Cool. So I've already got a selection of sprites that I've already got. So you will have your own folder and bring in your own sprites and stuff like that for this, for your own 2D platform game. So what I'm going to begin with is we're going to start with creating our tile map, so creating our very basic level, so we've got a character that can move around within it. So what we're going to do with our hierarchy on the left hand side, we're going to right click, we're going to go to 2D objects, we're going to go to tile map, and we're going to go to rectangular. We're going to click on that, and this will automatically create a grid, and we've got a tile map. So what I'm going to do is call this platform tile map. Lovely, there we go. And then we've got some lovely tiles here, and this is essentially what we'll paint our grids on. Essentially, with this grid we can paint our tiles on. Secondly, we need to sort out and set up our sprites. So as I said, I've already got a folder here with all of my sprites in it. So if I double click on this SPA folder, I've got a lovely folder of all tile map stuff sorted out for me already. If I double click into tile map, we can see we've got all of this, and then I've got this big sheet of tiles at the end. So if you're exporting from either a sprite, Piscale or Photoshop, you will have one big sprite sheet like this. So this sprite sheet is the size of 80 over 112 pixels and needs to be cut up, because the pixel size I want my pixels to be within my grid here for my tile map is 16 by 16, and as we can see, it's just one big sheet at the moment. So what we can do, if we click onto this here where it says tile map, and you can do this with your own tile maps as well, we can see that at the moment Unity is treating the sprite mode as a single sprite. Obviously we know this is multiple sprites or several sprites, so we can cut this up. So what we can do is click the drop down, choose multiple, and the next thing we do is pixels per unit, 100 pixels. Well, we know from the editing process and the creation process that we wanted 16 by 16 pixels. For this project, I wouldn't go any bigger than 32 by 32. So stick around 16 by 16 or 32 by 32. So here for this, I'm going to choose 16, and then under the filter mode, at the moment this is known as Linear. Linear is essentially adding an anti-aliasing, so it's adding a blur to our edges. We've got pixels, we do not want that with our pixels, so I'm going to change this to point no filter. And once we've got all those settings in, I can click apply. So all those settings are in, so my sprites won't look blurry at all within my game. Next thing we need to do is cut up these sprites. So we're going to click on Sprite Editor, and there we go. We can see all of our sprites here, and we can see these kind of individual sprites that we've got kind of cut up with us here. So we need to cut these up. So what we're going to do is go up to Slice, click the drop down, and at the moment it's set to automatic. We're going to change that to Grid by Cell Size, because we know the cell size. At the moment you can see it's automatically sizes at 64 by 64. But as we've already seen on the pixels per unit, we're going to change this to 16 by 16. And then as you can see, that fits absolutely perfectly with all of our sprites, and we can click Slice. Once we've done that, you can see this little button say Apply. We can click Apply, and then that creates individual sprites for us. Lovely, fantastic. And now we've cut this and sliced this up, we can get rid of this pop-up box of our sprite editor. And right, to save our changes, yeah, let's click save very quickly. And then we can see when we do the drop down here, we now have our individual sprites, and in the bottom right hand corner you can see me filter through those with the arrow keys. Cool, lovely. So we're ready to set this up to start painting our sprites on here. But we need to set up our palette first. So first things first is we're going to go to our assets folder here. We're going to right click and we're going to create a brand new folder. There we go. Let me just put the drop down a little bit. There we go, create and folder, right up the top, boom. And we're going to call this tile map. Cool, so everything for our tile map is going to live within this tile map folder. And we're going to add lots of different elements to this game. So, and there's going to be scripts folders, there's going to be folders for prefabs. So we're going to try and keep it nice and neat as possible as we go through this project. So what we're going to do is up the top, you might not be able to see it because it might be clicked off. You might be able to see window. Click on window up the top, and then we're going to go down and we're going to go to, what am I looking for? I'm looking for 2D and tile palette. There we go. So go up to window, scroll down until you find 2D and click on tile palette. And this will pop up as another window for our tile palette. So we want this to kind of stick on because this is going to stick around with us as we create our level. So what I'm going to do is grab the tab here and make it stick onto the side of my scene game here. So it kind of crunches things together, but we can kind of push things with our arrows back here. So it looks, our game is a little bit more acceptable. Lovely, lovely. And I can actually squish that on its own as well. Lovely, it says to create a new palette in the drop down above. So it's very correct, here we go. We've got create a new palette. I'm going to click that drop down arrow. I'm just going to call this platform, because this is going to be our platform tiles, and then leave everything as fine. And then when we click create, it's going to ask us to save it into a folder, and this is why we create that tile map folder there, and we can click choose. There we go, that pops into there. Now it's asking us to drag the sprites that we've just cut up. So let's jump back into those sprites that we've just cut up. There we go, they're all here. There we go, they're just hiding there. So these ones under the light grey banner that you can see here, they all need to jump into, these are all the actual sprites, so they need to be clicked and dragged into our tile palette. So if I click the first one, which is tile map 0, hold shift on my keyboard and click the last one, I can select all of those sprites. So all 33 of those sprites, let's click and drag them into here, boom. Again, it's going to ask where we want to save this. Again, we're going to scroll back, have a look at our assets, go to tile map, and we'll save it and choose it in here. And as you can see, that loads up. Lovely, and there's all of our sprites. Fantastic. Cool. So this is a pretty simple. What we can do is click on our platform tile map. As you can see, that then makes our grid jump up and pop up, means we're ready to use it. And we can click on a paintbrush at the top here of our tile palette, choose a particular sprite, and we can start to click and paint a particular sprite that we want. So I'm going to go for something very basic. I don't want to spend too much time on this. There we go. And if we can look at our game view as well, we can see that our tile maps are here, and they look nice and clear as well, as we can see from if we scale in. So that's really, really, really nice. Cool. So I'm going to create something with a quick kind of jump, and then it comes back down again. I would say I'd speed up this video, but I don't really do much video editing anymore, so I'm just going to quickly make this, and you can see my kind of process. It doesn't take too long to create some nice tiles. What I might show you very quickly is how we can spin one of these tiles. So what I can do is go to my selection tool, select this tool here, and click on my edit mode. Let's make sure we've got the actual edit mode clicked on, click that tile, and see if we can paint that with, oh, we don't want to paint it on there. Select that one, and then with our paintbrush, oh, it doesn't let me select. Let me see if we'll select that one. And there we go. If I select that, go to our paintbrush. Oh, it still hasn't done it. Let's come out of edit mode. Let's click on this tile map. Click off that one. Try that again, click on our edit mode, click on our brush. Oh, what you doing? Let's click off this. I know what the easiest thing to do is, what we can do is paint this here. As you can see, you can paint this here, and it's the wrong angle. What we can do is use our selection tool to click on this, and we can swap this round using our rotation on our Z axes within our inspector. So let's try -90. There we go, lovely. And we can do that for our other sprites as well. Let's just click on this one. Yeah, no, I'm going to choose this one. Yeah, that's good. Click down, and I'm going to then choose that sprite as well. And we can flip these around. So use the selection. That might be -90 again, just to flip that. Oop, no, that might be minus, or no, it might just be 90. Nope. Try 180. There we go. This might just be 90. Let's try -90. There we go. And then we can go back with our standard floor tiles. If I click on paint, there we go. Lovely. Let's span out. And then we can go click on here. This was definitely a -90. And you can get like quite a good workflow pretty quick. That's looking pretty good. That should all be within my level. That's absolutely fine. Let's see if we can just quickly finish this off. And it shouldn't take too long. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Boom, boom. And then what I can do is do a selection and twist these by 90. Oh no, what was it? It's 180, wasn't it? There we go. And then we can do a corner there, and then we'll rotate this by 90. There we go. Get some bottom panels here. Paint these. Doodle-doodle-doodle-doo. And then we can use our selection tool again to rotate these. And these are going to rotate by 180. There we go. So you can do it really nice and quickly like this. And then just our last one, our last tile. This might be 270. Let's have a look. Let's try 270. Nope, doesn't like that. Let's try -90. I might actually select it on the actual tile. Nope. -90. 270. Which way? So if you get it wrong, we can just go, oh, which way are you going to go? Doodle-doodle-doo. So it wants to be, oh, so it's just 180. Lovely. Cool. 180. Lovely. And then just this filler, I'm just going to grab. Let's have a look what this filler looks like. Oh, let me edit. So it's come off and edit. Click on that one. That looks pretty good. And that's just a black filler. There, look at our level. Lovely, fantastic. It looks a bit high up, so what I can do within my scene view, I can select. I can actually select all of these sprites here. I can select this move tool, and then this moves them just one down. Maybe one across. Yeah, that's fine. That's pretty good. Cool. Let's move one down. One more. Right by the camera. Yeah, cool. Lovely. Fantastic. So we've got a very basic level. And if we want to change the background color as well, what we can do is go into our main camera. It's not in our main camera. It might be in our global light then. Color, no. Blending, it might be in our, it's got to be in the main camera then, doesn't it? Where is it? It's projection orthographic. Rendering, nope. Stack environment, there we go. So we'll just quickly change this to a appropriate, maybe a lighter blue or something like that. Let's have a look. Oh, crikey. That does change the light somewhat. Yeah, something like that. That'll do for now. Lovely, cool. So we've got a very basic level that we've created here using Tilemap. I may want to add some tiles later, but we can bring this back up by going to Window, going to 2D and going to Tilemap. Cool, so for now I'm just going to close this tab. So if we click on the three dots, we can click Close Tab, and we have our level there, and zoom out so we can see that fully. Fantastic, cool. So let's create our player. Whenever we're creating games, the first part of our functionality and the most important part of our functionality is always the player, because that's who your audience are controlling. If you don't have your player sorted, players are not going to want to play your game. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this from scratch. We're going to right click, we're going to create an empty, and we can name this player. Lovely jubbly. And then we're going to add a component straight away. We're going to go to add component on our player, and we're going to go to the animator. Lovely. Add the animator in. And then what we can then do within our assets, because we're going to be dealing with some animations, we're going to go and create a new folder, and we can call this folder animation. Lovely. Cool. So in the animation folder, let's create two folders, because we'll have an let's go in here and let's go to let's create another folder within this one, and we'll call this player, because we'll have enemy animations as well. And then double click in here, and then we'll right click, go to create, and then we'll go to an animator controller. So we will have a number of sprites or sprite sheets that we can cut up and create into animations. So for example, for this video, I think we're going to look at climbing a ladder, an idle pose, and a run animation. So for now, we are going to just look at the player, and we can call this player controller, so we know what it is. Lovely. And what we can do is then click on player, and it's going to ask for our controller, and let's drag our player controller in there. Lovely. Cool. Make sure you save your game, as well as, because we've done a fair few edits now. What's next? What can we do next? So let's think about the actual sprite itself. So let's go to component on our player and ask for a sprite renderer. There we go. The sprite renderer has popped up here. And then what we can do is we can add an idle sprite. So let's go and have a look at our assets again. And I've got my SPA. Let's go into player. Let's go into idle, or idle, this has been wrongly spelt. As you can see here, I've got some sprites. So again, just like our tile maps that we looked at earlier, these are very, very small because they're pixels by 100, so they need to be sized down to the actual, to the X value. So that would be 12 pixels for this character. So what we're going to do, we're going to go select, and we can select all of these guys, because this is our idle animation. And we're going to change this from, we're going to change this to 16. Oh no, sorry, we're going to change this to 12. And we're going to change the linear to no filter, to point, and then we can click apply. And then this will make them a lot bigger. Once we've done that, we can click in here. And as we know, this is where our actual sprite lives. There we go, there's our chap there. 12 by 18 pixels. And let's drag him in. And add him in. So what we can do is on our player, if we click on player, we can see that it's looking for a sprite, and at the moment it says none. Let's click this first chap in, pop, there we go. That is where our character is now sitting, and we can just drag him. Let's drag him up there. Lovely. Let's look at our game. Lovely, cool. So we've got the foundations of a game popping up here. Cool, remember to regularly save, Control S if you're on PC, Command S if you're on a Mac. I know the majority of you PC, so apologies that I'm using a Mac here, but I will explain if things are in different areas for Mac or PC, do not worry. Cool, once we've got our idle sprite in, we can look at creating an animation and putting that together. So we've got our sprites down here already, so let's make sure we get all of these grey sprites up. So let's click that one, and then we can hold control, bump, and then we've got 4 sprites that create an idle animation. So what we're going to do is, once you've got those highlighted, if you right click on one of them, go to create, we can go straight to animation. And then what this will do is save these animations all into this little icon here, and let's call this idle. There we go. And once we've done that, we're going to drag this into our player, into our animation folder, into our player folder. So once we click on that, we have our idle animation. Lovely. So once we have that, where do these animations live? Well, they live in something called an animator, and at the moment, or our animator controller, which is located on our player. Our player controls our animations. So how do we get to this? Well, what we do is if we double click on our player controller here, this will pop up. There we go, with a tab called animator, and we can add our animations in here. To move around and to navigate around our animator area, we can scroll out with just the scroll wheel on the mouse, or to move in and around like this, we hold Alt on our keyboard and click and drag. So what we're going to do is, let's stay by any state at now for now. That'd be quite a good idea. And we're going to drag our idle animation from there to here. There we go. Cool. So you can see this is our idle animation. So our entry point is, as soon as we press play on our game, this animation will play through. So there's a certain number of things that we need to do before we play this animation. If we click on the animation itself, we can see that loop time is unchecked. If this was a jump animation, we'd only want it to play once and then pop back. This is an idle animation, so we're going to want this to play over and over. So we're going to want this to loop. So let's go loop time and loop pose. And we can also save those settings with Control S. Once we've done that, we can go back to our scene, we can press play, and let's have a look at that animation now. Lovely, so we've got an animation, but it's going pretty quick for an idle animation. So what we can do really quickly is come out of play, click on our animation itself, which is here. Within the animator. So we highlight it blue, and we can see that we've got speed. Let's change the speed to, it's a decimal place, so it's a float position. So let's call this 0.6, press enter, and then we can press play again, and we can test that speed. Notice that I'm coming in and out of the game. This is really, really important when you're making your game. Yeah, that's a really nice speed actually. Maybe you might just change that to 0.65 really quickly, just to be really picky, 0.65, just a little bit quicker. And the reason is whenever you're making a change within Unity, you can't be in play mode. If you're in play mode, the game will not save, Unity will not save anything you're doing. So we must make sure that we come in and out of our play modes, okay? I'm happy with that animation. I'm going to put Command S or Control S to save our game. Lovely. So if you're feeling pretty confident, you can go ahead and do this with your idle, your running animation. You can implement that in as well. Here, I think what we are going to do now is have a look at our run animation. So let's do the same. So if you've already done this and you paused the video and you created your run animation, well done. I'm always going to kind of set mini challenges throughout these videos, and really you should try and set this up as much as possible. Take notes, look at the notes that you've just done. If you keep following these videos, eventually these videos will run out and you won't know how to expand your learning. So you need to think upon your feet, look at the notes that you've written, make sure you've written the correct terminology so you can navigate yourself around a professional games engine, and you can start making games such as this. So for our, I'm going to rush through this because you should have been able to do this already. I'm going to go into player and just sort out my run animations very quickly. So I'm going to hold those. And again, this is just repeating essentially everything that I've already done. So you should have notes on this, and it should be nice and easy. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Let's quickly rename this to run. Let's quickly delete that and then add that back in. There we go. Run. Lovely. Cool. Lovely. So we've got our run animation in there, and we can test this out with some new bits with a transition. Cool, lovely. So let's make a transition from idle to run and run to idle. And so naturally we're going to want to be standing when we start our game, and then when we start to move we're going to go through this transition and go into run, and then when we stop running go back to this transition and go back to idle. So this is how our controller controls our animations. So first things first, we're going to have a look at the settings for the transition from idle to from idle to run. And initially, we are going to want to, and let's actually make this run loop time and loop pose as well before I forget. And then on this transition, we can change our settings. We're going to change our duration to 0, transition duration to 0, and we're going to uncheck our has exit time. Then it asks within the conditions that we need to create a parameter, a condition, some kind of passcode kind of thing that's going to allow us to begin to run. So what we're going to do on the left hand side here within our animator, we've got this window here. If we click on parameters, we can create parameters, so rules for allowing our animations to transition through input. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the plus and choose a ball, and we're going to name this ball is running. So balls, I will put that in I can put some details with on the Discord or below on this comment on this YouTube video about information of how balls work. Essentially, they're true or false statements as well. If one is true, we're allowed to run. If one is false, we're not allowed to run. And that's how we can transition between these two animations. Cool, lovely. So initially, we're going to want to say under conditions, list is empty. If we click this plus, this will jump in there automatically because it's the only parameter that exists. Is running is true, 100%. We're going to go from running idle to run, so that transition will then be true. On the way back, what are we going to do? We're going to turn off has exit time. We're going to put that back to 0, and this time we're going to add is running, but this time it will indeed be false. So we can save that, and we've got our transitions here. That's absolutely fine. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I think I'm quite happy with that. We can check this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my animator tab down here, and if I play my game, we initially have our idle, but then if we check is running, there we go. We then have our running animation. We can check that off, and we can check that on as well. There we go. Lovely, fantastic, cool. Come out and play, and we can save our game because that is all working nice and lovely. Cool. If you want to do this with another animation, or you have animations that you would like to use it for, please go ahead and add that as well. We could do this with the climb, the ladder climb. I may save that for another video, just because I'm looking at the time and this video is already nearly half an hour. Cool, lovely. So what we are going to do next is we need to set up the player with input, so movement, through a keyboard or through, more excitingly, a games controller or games pad, if we're going to use the correct terminology. So if we're talking about games pad, PlayStation controller, Xbox controller, and the joysticks for the Nintendo Wii, for example, can all be programmed through Unity and tested live within game as well. So obviously I haven't got a camera on me for this video, but I will set this up for gamepad as well. So if you've got a games controller at home, or you're in session, you have one of the Xbox games controllers, please use one of those to implement that in as well, and I'll show you how to implement that in. Cool, lovely. So first things first is that we need to download the package. So we're going to click Window at the top, and we're going to go to Package Manager. This will pop open a window for us, and we're going to change our tab here to Unity Registry. And what we're going to do is we type in input. It should pop up. There we go. Input system. Let's click install. So Unity is going to want to restart here. As soon as we install this, it will pop up with a window. And that's absolutely fine. We're going to allow that. I've saved my game. I'm happy with what I've got. And it's just thinking. There we go. And then we click yes. So Unity will restart the game, or restart the engine, and what will be installed is the brand new input system, which allows configuration onto controllers as well, which is quite nice. This may take a couple of minutes. There we go. Lovely, as you can see, I don't know if you can hear my computer through my microphone, but my computer's not very happy with me, but that's all fine. Once we've got that, we can click off this because we'll have our package manager. And to prove that we have our package manager, we can go onto player. If I click on player, and then I can go to add component, and we are going to type player input. There we go, player input, there it is. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So for this, once we've done this, on the player input, we need to click on the create actions, and we need to create a new action in a folder called input system. So let's create that folder initially. Right click, new folder, and we can call this input system. As I said, lots of different folders that we'll be creating here. Double click into this, and then we can go to player. Click, where am I looking at? Create actions, and then we can open this up. Let's go into input system, and I'm going to rename this to input actions, and click save. And that one, as you can see, that pops into there. And look, this input actions pops up straight away. And as you can see, this is our default. We have a move with WASD and the gamepad and XR controllers. We also have a look if we want to, and we can also have a fire. So we need to add something to this to kick it off. Number one, we're going to make sure we check on autosave. So autosaves everything that we do. So first things first, what we're going to do is create a jump. So by actions, we're going to click the plus, and we're going to call this jump. Lovely. Cool. So at the moment we have no binding. Let's add a binding. So a binding is essentially what's going to make jump. What key are we going to press? So initially we are going to make sure that the control scheme that we're using is a keyboard and mouse for this binding. And if we click this where it says path and this empty box here, we can click listen. And if I press spacebar, pop, there we go, spacebar, boom. There we go. And we can jump using now our spacebar through our keyboard. So if we want to add another binding, we can click the plus by jump, go to add binding. This binding we are going to click on gamepad. For example, this could be Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, as I said before. If you have your controller plugged in, I currently do not. So I have a PlayStation controller by me, but I don't have the wire to plug it into the computer, so I'm not going to worry about it for now, but we can find those buttons anyway. So what I'm going to do is click on path, and I wonder if you could find it through PlayStation controller. There we go. D-pad, left button, lock, right stick. We want it to be the cross. There we go. There we go. So cross on the PlayStation controller, because that's the controller that I have. We could choose gamepad, and it could be gamepad south as well, button south, but this is fine for now. And we've got auto save on there as well, so that works really, really well. And yeah, I think that's it with our settings for now. We just need to make sure, yep, that's absolutely fine. We've got autosave checked. So lovely, lovely. We can come out of there. And to get back on this again, we can just double click on this. And there we go. We can see it's all saved, even with our bindings there as well. Lovely, fantastic. Cool, so if we click back onto player, we just need to make sure that these control inputs are going to be filtered throughout our game. So what we're going to do is open the input settings, and we can just click this big button here. We don't need to worry about the rest of this stuff, because that means it's all done and dusted. Cool. Click to save our game. My mind's gone blank. What do we need to do next? So we did the open settings. We clicked to create this settings asset. Let's write a script if we're thinking correctly. So let's create a new folder. Actually, input settings here can live in our input settings there. Boom. There we go, that's fine, and we can create a brand new folder. Let's call this scripts. Make sure we don't have capital C, make sure I can spell. There we go, scripts. Double click on the scripts and we're going to right click, go to create and C# script, and we can call this player movement. Lovely. That will compile. So remember, we need our C# scripts to talk to a program called Visual Studio, because that's what we write our code in. So what we can do to quickly check that Unity is speaking to Visual Code, we can Visual Studio Code, we can click Edit at the top and go down to, oh, it doesn't live here. We need to look for Preferences. So on a PC, click Edit and go to Preferences, and then you'll be able to go to External Tools. For Mac, you'll need to click on the Unity icon, go to Preferences, and then on External Tools, we can then choose, as you can see, I've already got Visual Studio for Mac installed, but then you could choose it from this drop down here. But it's already installed for me, so that's absolutely fine. Cool, lovely. So let us go and jump into this script. So we double click that, that will open a brand new piece of software. You could probably see it bouncing at the bottom of my screen, which is just around here for Visual Studio. Lovely. Cool, so we click close on this. Lovely, and hopefully you can see that. That's quite big actually, so that's all nice and clear. So for our script, we need to first say that we're using the new input system. So Unity engine dot input system. There we go. It's popped up already because it's got the prompts. And then what we can say is, let's start off with, we need to say that we're going to be on the move. So we're going to use start and update a bit later. So let's say void on move, and then we can say, oh, I knew it would do that. That's annoying. Let's see if we can on move, and I'll click off it and click back on it. There we go. And then we can say, oh, we need our input value, don't we? So we need to say input value, and we can just call this name by value. There we go. Lovely. And then we can do an input here. So we need to declare that we want to move with the new input system. So we can say vector 2. Lovely. And we can call that move input, which is nice and handy. And then we can just say for now, move input is equal to our value, which is dot get, and that will be our vector 2. Parentheses, semicolon, and then we can just write a debug log of, can we actually see the movements happening once we press on our keyboard? So let's just say move input, move. Cool. So let's save this and make sure that this input system is initially talking to Unity. Click back into Unity. That will compile our script. If we press play, and within our game, if we click on console, and then if we start pressing our keys, if I make sure I'm clicked actually on it, or clicked on our game, once we, I know what I haven't done. We need to add the script actually to our player. So if we click on, oh, that's a good start, isn't it? Let's move that back up there. Let's move our script actually to our player. Ooh. Come on in. And then, there we go. Let's save our game quickly. Let's go back onto console, back onto play. Sorry, add the script. Make sure we add the script to the player, otherwise it won't work. And then this time we can press our arrows, and as you can see, we are getting coordinates from me pressing the key buttons from all the different positions here of our player. So we know that our input system works. Lovely, we can save that. Cool, lovely. So the next thing we need to do is actually get our player moving. So what we need to do is probably add a collider and a rigid body to our player to create gravity. Let's just see if it's worth doing that first or doing it afterwards. I'm gonna say let's do that first because then we won't get any errors from that at all. So right, so what we need to do, I'm just thinking that we need to add colliders to our platforms as well. Cool, lovely. So let's do the platforms first. So if we click on grid and click on the platform tile map, we need to add a new component, and that new component is going to be a tile map collider 2D. There we go. So there we can see here that this has gone very, very boxy and added a green collider around all of our game, just like this. Lovely. Problem is, with these individual boxes and these individual sprites, this can almost create trip hazards for our player. So what we need to do, we need to add another component in here. So if we go back to add component, we can add comp, and what we need to do is a composite collider 2D. Firstly, this adds a rigid body. This rigid body needs to be edited because at the moment body type is dynamic. This means it's going to be moving and possibly doing something. This platform isn't going to be doing anything within our game. Moving platforms, we would keep it dynamic. This platform isn't going to move at all. It's going to be static. So we need to change that to static. And as you can see, it closes down there. Lovely. So that's all it's going to do. It's just going to be absolutely static. Then within the tile map itself, because we've added the composite, we can say used by composite, or yeah, we've added a composite. Once we check this, boom, there we go. We can see it's a solid collider all around our platform now, just in there. Lovely, wicked, really, really happy with that. Cool, lovely. So next, let's add collisions for our player. So first things first, we need to add let's add a capsule collider first. So let's add a component and go capsule collider 2D, make sure it's 2D. And as you can see, there is a capsule collider on. Let's turn off gizmos. That's quite annoying, isn't it? Just gizmos live these days. There we go. Move that icon down a bit. That's a bit annoying. Cool. As you can see, this is a bit offset. It's not really covering the player that well. So let's go down to our capsule collider, go to edit collider, and I'll just shake my mouse so it goes, there we go, goes big, and then let's edit our collider here. I'm just going to make sure it fits around them. That's absolutely fine, and we can click off that, and then we have our capsule collider. Once we've got that, we can add our rigid body, and we're going to click add component, go rigid body 2D. And the settings for our rigid body 2D is we can open this, leave everything apart from the constraints, where we're going to then freeze rotation on the Z, because sometimes we can have some problems with our movement, because even though we're making a 2D game, we still can be within a 3D environment, as you can see here, like that. Cool, lovely. Let's save this. Let's go back into our script and see we can add our rigid body now. We can call up that rigid body because it's now living within our player. Let's go back to our script. There we go. Let's call our rigid body up here. So let's call this rigid body 2D, and we can call it RB for rigid body. And then we need to think about grabbing the component within our void start. So we can say RB is equal to get components. That component is obviously our rigid body 2D, and we can do our parentheses and whoops. There we go. There we go. That should fix that. Lovely. Grabbed our rigid body. Then we can say let's create a function for our run. That would probably help because that's what's going to actually make us move. So let's go, firstly, let's go under update, and then we can create a new method called void run. And do I need to do anything else in there? I don't think so. Cool. So void run, and what's going to make us run? Well, initially it will be the rigid body dot velocity. Velocity lives within a rigid body, and then we can say that equals to our move input and semicolon. And then what we can do is on our update say run. Lovely. So this should work, but give us some let's have a look. Let's see what this does. I haven't actually tested this before, so it's always good to test things out. Firstly, we should have gravity when we play. Oh, but our gravity is a bit weird. We can move, but the gravity takes, and then gravity of up and down still kind of works as well. But we are colliding with an object. Cool. Right, let's see if we can fix this a little bit better. So we need to get gravity kicking in a little bit more. So let's edit run. So let's keep that for now, and we can write another bit of script. So if we say our vector2 of player velocity, so this will be a smaller variable name. We could say new vector2 for a new position, and then we can say move input. Where's move input? There we go. Vector2 move input dot x is then 0f on r for our y. So what we're saying here is that with our move, we don't want any movement on our y. Remember, anything within our vector2 is then talking about our x or our y values. And then under this, we can just say we can change this from move input to player velocity. Lovely, lovely. Let's quickly save this. Let's see how we can progress. Let's see if gravity now works. Again, if I'm going a bit too quick, just pause the video. Let's push play on this. So, oh, we've still got a bit of weird gravity. We can't go up anymore, which is good. But we still haven't got like great gravity, and our speed is a bit naff as well. So we might need to add a speed variable in there. Let's quickly save this and quickly jump back into our script. So let's add a speed variable before I forget. Let's add a break here, and we can call this public, so it can be viewed by anybody. Float run speed, and let's say 10. Seems a nice round number, 10f, because it's a float, so it's a decimal place. And then within our movement, we can say our run, so we can times. Do we need 0? We could probably get rid of 0 actually, and let's say move input. Oh, let's just times it by a run speed and see what happens. Run speed, and then we can say the RB velocity dot y. That should just keep that as 0. Oh, and don't want it and run speed. We want it times by our run speed, and we don't need that comma there. That should be okay. I'm gonna leave that alone. That should be fine. Cool. Let's quickly save this. Probably need to sort out that gravity a little bit more, but we'll see if this works. Let's press play. Oh, that's a bit better. Lovely, cool. So we've got our movement. That moves quite quickly, and we can slow this down if we want. So now we've created this as a public float. What we can do is we can go into Unity, we can click on our player, and we can go to where is that script? There it is. Player movement is at 10. I'm going to change that to 8, and let's press play. So we can edit our speed now within Unity because it's public. Lovely. So that's got quite a nice speed about it. Cool. So another thing that's really annoying me is that our sprite isn't flipping. So let's quickly do that, and then I can end this video because this video has gone on forever. Right. So let's see what we can do about that. Let's go into our update initially. Where's updates? Let's create a flip sprite. So initially we haven't got that method because it will give us a red line, but I'll probably forget to write it in later. So if I write it now, that will help. And then we can write just below run, we can write void flip sprite. So how can we flip past sprite? Well, it's fairly easy. What if I jump back into Unity? Let's compile really quick. What we can see, if we look at our sprite render, we actually have a setting called flip. And if I click on X, so what we need to do is just implement that with our movement. So let's go and obviously make that through code. So what we're going to say is we're going to say transform dot local scale, and then that's going to equal a new vector2, so it's a new position for our X and our Y position. And we're going to use something called maths f dot sign, which will enable us to say, what does maths f sign actually do? It's there is no argument. Well, that might work when I add in my rigid body velocity. Rigid body velocity, yeah, there we go. Is it actually going to tell me what that does? It's not absolute, is it? Maths f is a collection of common maths functions. Can I remember it? Oh, maths f.sign. I believe it's almost like, I can't remember at the moment. My brain is totally gone. So velocity.x, but I do know we need it. This will enable us to flip round, and then we can flip round by 1f. And then we can do semicolon. Lovely. So let's say that. So let's quickly save this, see if this works. If we press on our game. Cool, let's press play. Lovely. So we flip, but we're not quite. Oh, so we're not actually facing that way. We reverse back, which isn't great. So what we need to do, I know a fix for this. Let's have a quick look. So we need to create within the flip. We need to create an if statement within here. Dunk dunk. So if player let me think. Let's add we need to add a ball before we do that. So a ball, and let's call this player horizontal speed. Horizontal speed. Yeah. Cool. And this will equal to absolute 0. So I know what this maths one means. So if we move this to absolute 0, so maths absolute 0 on our rigid body on our rigid body dot velocity dot x. And then we can say is greater than mass dot right 2 degrees epsilon. That should fix that issue. Semicolon. Let's keep this here for now. We might need to get rid of it, and then we can write if player speed is horizontal. Then we can say, we can say our transform. We can put this in here. So let's go and go Command X. So we'll cut, and we can paste that into there. Let's save this and see if we've actually got our sprite flipping appropriately. Lovely, lovely. Press play. Lovely, he lands and he runs. There we go, fantastic. So next video we are going to get a jump implemented. We will get our running animation implemented, because at the moment this is just an idle animation. But there, this is really, really good. Cool. So great start. Sorry for the long video, but now you are fully caught up with what you need to do. Cool. Lovely jubbly, and I will see you soon.